Hey everybody, I'm Jason, the Courier of the Army Showcase and host of the Tabletop Battlefield over at tabletopbattlefield.com. And on this premiere episode of Green Gaming, we're going to be building a secret missile battery for the Tau Empire. Welcome to the premiere episode of Green Gaming presented by the Tabletop Battlefield. And the goal of the show is really just to produce really simple miniature wargame themed projects that use a lot of trash. So to give you an idea of what kind of things to build here, for example I've got a nuclear power plant built pretty much from trash. It's actually built on top of the box of my microwave dinner. The actual tray of the microwave dinner actually forms the main body of the nuclear power plant. And then over here you've actually got two yogurt cups that are used to build one of the cooling towers. And of course I went ahead to give it some paint and some flocking to make it look pretty. Oh, and the fence along the edge here is actually aluminum foil from a bag of chips. And the four posts of the fence are actually four prongs from a fork. So that'll kind of give you an idea. I'll put some of the links in the notes of the YouTube video here to give you an idea of what kind of stuff we build, but it's basically taking a lot of trash and trying to make something cool out of it, really. But this time around we're going to focus on Warhammer 40,000 and build a secret missile battery for the Tau Empire. So what you're going to need for this, we'll run through the items. I got some graph paper, an empty dental floss container. I've got the cap from a sports drink, in this case it's Powerade. Surprise, surprise. Another microwave dinner box, a plastic fork that has at least 3 of its prongs intact, one of the little plastic flight stands for the Tau Empire. You have the smaller half of a plastic Easter egg. You got a burst cannon for the Tau Empire. We all know these things are pretty much trash in a lot of cases. So to get started, what you're going to want to do is with the graph paper, trace out a small little cross here. This is going to be used to build a base. So the whole thing is going to end up measuring, maybe probably about 4 inches by 4 inches. And what you're going to do then is take the little cross, lay it down on the food packaging you're going to use, and just trace it out 3 times. So you're going to end up with essentially 3 crosses you've cut out. And these 3 crosses are actually going to be used to build the base of the Tau missile battery. So what you're going to do is you're going to take 2 of them, and get out your glue stick, and in the top of one of them, go ahead and just run the glue stick across it, and then take the other one and place it right down on top. 2 of them will be glued together, and you're going to set these 2 off the side because you're going to use these later. So take your 3rd cross here, and this is going to become the actual base you're going to build the turret on top of. So take the sports cap, place it down on the 3rd cross, and kind of line up in the center as best as possible. So go ahead and take your pencil now and kind of mark off where the cap should sit. Now you're going to get out your hot glue gun and go ahead and glue the cap down to the base. So the next thing you're going to add on now is going to be the plastic Easter egg. So get this little small half of the plastic Easter egg out. And the reason I use the Powerade cap is because actually this plastic Easter egg fits nearly exactly on top of this little cap. So go ahead and just place a small ring of hot glue around the sports drink cap. And you're going to go ahead and kind of glue down the plastic Easter egg to it. And you can go ahead and just kind of let this thing set off the side, give it 2 or 3 minutes to dry, and we're going to come back to it in just a little bit. So now we're going to go ahead and get the missile battery portion ready. So what you want to do is take your dental floss container, and inside, you've always got this little plastic thing here that held the dental floss, and the little metal thing that you'd use to kind of clip it, because we don't want it in here. So go ahead, take your scissors, and just kind of use them as pliers and rip this internal guts out. And now what you're going to do is essentially glue the top of the missile battery, or the top of the dental floss thing open, so it's going to look like the missile battery is open and ready to fire. The first thing you got to do is cut off this little tab here. Pop it open, and let's cut this little tab off. There we go. Take your hot glue gun and run a bead of hot glue along the back, or along the hinge of this dental floss container, and pull the lid back, so that eventually should then glue the top in place and hold it open like it's ready to have missiles slid into it to fire. We're going to take this guy and set him upside down like this, so that the top's going to be resting on the ground and kind of a little force to hold it open while the glue dries. And we'll set that off to the side and come back to it in just a minute or 2. Now let's get out our burst cannon, our flight stand, and our plastic fork. The plastic fork can be used to build these 3 sensor things. They've got one on either side of the main missile battery, and then one in the back here. And then the burst cannon and the flight stand is going to be used to build this other little kind of guidance system we got in the bottom. So it's probably got some kind of network marker light on it, so if it wanted to, it can basically target somebody and launch its own missiles. What you're going to do for the first of the burst cannon, there's essentially 2 sections of the burst cannon. You've got the main gun section, then you've got the 4 barrels that stick out the front. You're going to want to go ahead and cut off the 4 barrels and keep this main section. If you want, you can take a file and file down the 4 barrels where they're cut off. This part's going to be kind of tucked under the bottom of the missile battery, so it's not really critical. The next thing you're going to do with the flight stand is, you've got the thicker end and the thinner end. You want to cut off the little pin on the back of the thick end. You want to make that as probably as smooth as possible. So once again, you may want to consider using a file to kind of file it down. Is take the burst cannon where the 4 barrels would have been, you want to have that sticking up. Take your hot glue, just put a dab of hot glue in the end there, and you're going to want to stick the thick end of the flight stand where you just cut off a little nodule, and just stick it in there, and let it go, and you're going to have to let it dry for a minute or so. Now we're going to go to the fork, what's going to be, like I mentioned, used to create the sensor spines. You want to cut off 3 of these prongs. Exact length isn't critical, so if they're a little different in length, you're fine. But lay them out though, and pick the 2 that are closest in length, because these 2 are going to become the sides sensors, and probably whichever one is the oddball one, we're going to make that the back sensor. So let's go back to the dental floss container, which obviously is forming the battery section of the missile battery. Using your hot glue, on either side of the dental floss's open end, start by placing a dab of hot glue down, and take one of the 2 pieces of fork you decide are going to be the side sensor spines and glue them in place. So you want to line them up such that they're both vertically and kind of horizontally in the same basic plane. Like you kind of see there, if you hold them up at the side, they're pretty much in the same kind of height level on the dental floss container. And while those are drying, you want to go to the back. In one of the back 2 corners, you want to go ahead and add some more hot glue, and you're going to stick what's going to become the vertical sensor spine in the back here. So let's set this guy down and just kind of hold the vertical sensor spine up for probably 30 seconds to a minute in order to allow this to dry. So now what you want to do is go back to your original base here with the sports cap and the Easter egg, put that down on the ground, and you want to go ahead now and attach the missile battery to the base. So you want to attach in such a way it's probably angled. You can angle it however you want. I angled mine a little bit up. It kind of looked like it's kind of facing a direction, getting ready to fire its missiles in some kind of long arc. So decide where exactly you want the glue to go on the base. So let's go ahead and let's put the hot glue right here in the back of the base. This will give the missile battery portion a little bit of an upward angle. And just go ahead, glue it on such that probably the front of the missile battery is sticking out maybe a ½ inch from the egg, and it's pretty much just let the hot glue dry and just kind of let it go for a little bit. So the last step you're going to do is attach on its quote network marker light, which is just the burst can of the flight stand attached to the back. So choose either the front right or front left corners on the bottom where you can attach this thing. And what you're going to do, flip the missile battery over, starting with the front left or front right corner, wherever you choose, run a line of hot glue along the edge, and you want to attach the flight stand to the glue. So the entire burst cannon portion should be sticking out in front of the missile battery. So if I hold this thing up at the camera, you can see that the burst cannon portion there, which is the whole black prime section, is sticking out from the dental floss container. And there's your little network marker light. So just like that, you take some trash and you've got yourself a Tau Empire secret missile battery. This is where those 2 extra crosses come in. Because if you notice, this cardboard tends to kind of warp a little bit when you hit with some kind of spray paint. So to help that, what you do is after you've got it primed, you're going to go ahead and apply another layer of the glue stick to this top of the double crosses and stick it to the bottom of the crosses attached to the base, therefore giving it a little bit extra strength as the primer dries. Thanks for watching the premiere episode of the Green Gaming presented by the Tabletop Battlefield. For more trash-based products or maybe tactics, reviews, and other sorts of miniature wargame information, check out the Tabletop Battlefield podcast and Army Showcase over at www.tabletopbattlefield.com. Once again, I'm Jason. Thanks for watching. So get out there, build your Tau Empire secret missile batteries, and get out there fighting for the greater good.